Today, I'm going to show you how to tackle long, very dark roots with brassy old highlights and turn it into something brighter, and it looks like her natural is lighter and softer and more beautiful and brighter all the way throughout without causing much breakage. So if this is something that you want to learn how to do, stick around and I'm going to show you how I do that. Hey everyone, it's me, Katie from Bobby Hair Studio. Thank you so much for your patience as I haven't had a lot of film-worthy styles to do lately, but I've got a really good one in the chair today. I feel like this is something that a lot of new stylists can learn a lot from because this is a service that I guess it's not the most exciting one, but it's super, super helpful. So here's my client's before. She has old red dye in her ends as we did that last year. She's got these very dark roots and she's got old previous blonding, which has a lot of orange and brass tones in there. And what we want to go for today is more of a mushroom blonde look. So that means we have to lift her hair, everything that's virgin, as well as pretty much all of her previous blonding as well. Oh, and she would love it if her natural looks like it's lighter. So we're going to have a two-bowl mixture. For the orange areas, I've got this orange bowl and I've mixed about a quarter scoop of Blonde Me and 3/4 of a scoop of Blonde Me clay, which is a clay lightener. And in the black bowl for her black roots, I have Blonde Me just on its own, and I'm going to be mixing that with a 20 volume developer. And I'm going to be mixing the orange bowl with a 7 volume developer. And to make things easy, I'm going to use my Framar Dreamweaver comb. I'm going to use it in the smallest size available today. This gives a really soft baby light, and I really like these combs because they do all the thinking for me on days where I have just tons and tons of foils that I need to fit into someone's hair. So this is their tiniest weave. Their packs come in a pack of 3 where it's got like a little, a medium, and a larger weave. But to be totally honest, I mostly just use the baby light weave because it takes a lot of the thinking out of it for me. So I'm going to show you how I use this to get the whole head as blonde as possible utilizing baby lights. So I have pre-treated her hair with K18 mist because we are going to be lightening over some areas that have been previously lightened. And what's in the ends of her hair is also important to know. We did a red color on her hair last February, so that's in like the last 6 inches of her hair. Her hair does grow very fast, but that's important for everybody to know, as well as the fact that because she has such warm tones in the ends of her hair, that's because of the red color staining. So what we're trying to do today is safely lighten any of her old brassy color and prevent ourselves from over lightening anything that's light enough, and also lightening up her roots, connecting her roots through to the ends of her hair and getting her an overall brighter appeal, because what she ideally wants to have is this milk chocolatey brown color. And she asked, can we lift up my base today? And I told her, well, if we lift up your base and we do that with color, you're going to have a very dark chocolatey brown. It's going to be a very red toned brown. And I don't think that's ideally what you want, because mixing a red base chocolate brown with a beige ash base like highlight color, in my opinion, it looks quite muddy when you're mixing a warm color and then a cool color. It just doesn't look quite right. I feel like warm low lights with warm highlights, or cool low lights with cool highlights. So we decided to do highlights everywhere and then to pull out all of her left out pieces, and we're going to tone those, and we're going to just put a decent amount of ash in there to deal with any of the left out blonde areas. So I'm going to show you that as well, but I feel like these are going to be important notes for anybody who might have a hard time with connecting their previous highlights or someone else's previous highlights as well. Because when I was a hairdresser, it was brand new into hair, I found that no one ever really taught me how to do highlights on roots. They just taught me how to do a full head of highlights and not how to connect things or how to brighten things up if there was old highlights. So if you are a new hairdresser and you're struggling with that, please pay attention to what I'm about to say, because this is some theory that really does help to I don't know, rationalize or just make it all make sense in your brain before you start putting in a bunch of color all willy-nilly into someone's head. So as you can see, I've been using my Dreamweaver here, and I'm taking thin sections and I'm pushing the hair up and collecting what was in the baby light area and pushing away what was in the low light area. And then I'm going to be using my little balayage board here just to give a firmer surface for me to paint on. And then I'm first of all painting on all of the root area because I want the hair to stick to the foil. And then I'm taking my brush on an angle and I'm finding all these little low lights, and either I'm going to separate them away and put them up into the bleach zone, or I'm going to paint downward onto them, just depending on how big they are and if I feel like I can safely do that. And then I'm going to take my light mixture, my 7 volume and clay mixture, and cover any of the old highlights that need to be lifted with that. And what that's going to do is provide me with a very, very, very gentle, slow lift because it's clay lightener. And in my opinion, clay lightener, I've never had one that lifts like 9 levels. They've all lifted like 2 levels. But I also want to make sure that I'm not lifting not quite enough. So I've put a tiny bit of the Blonde Me powder in there. I've crossed the lines there a little bit. I know they tell you not to do that, but I still do it anyways. Because it's just going to give me a little bit more of a guarantee of a better lift, but not as strong as 9 levels, because we do not need a 9-level lift on these orange pieces, but we do need about 3 or 4 levels in general on some spots. And any spots that don't need any lift, I just kick them out the side or keep them dry, and then I fold up the foil to go. So the way that I'm foiling here, you'll notice that I'm trying to get every piece that's dark, and I'm also trying to get every piece that's in the middle there and leave out every piece that's light. This is how you highlight to get them overall a lot lighter. If you want to just connect somebody's foils because they have grown out roots and they like the amount of blonde that they currently have in their hair and they don't want to go any blonder throughout the ends, then that's all that you need to do. Is you need to weave into the foil anything that's previously blonde and only touch up the root, and weave out anything out of the foil that's dark. So because my client here today wants to go as blonde as possible, we're using a Dreamweaver. If my client said, oh no, I just like the amount of blonde that you have in here, I don't want to go any blonder, which, let's be honest, that doesn't happen that often. But in that case, I would just utilize a regular rat tail comb and pick out anything that is light and put it into the foil and update the root and leave out anything that is dark. But again, that doesn't happen super often. Most of my clients do want to go blonder and blonder. So when you're doing something like this, it is important to make sure that you have fresh bowls because you are lifting so many levels. We are lifting her from a natural level 3-4 base to a level 10 because we still want her to have that ashiness to her hair. So we do need to lift it actually quite light. So this type of thing, you need to have fresh bowls. And if you guys have watched my other videos, you know my rule is like every 10 to 15 minutes, you should be mixing a new bowl. The only bowl that I don't remix is my orange bowl because I don't mind if that loses power over time. It's not really, it's not the bowl that I'm very concerned about because we don't need a ton of lift from that bowl. It's just going to provide a very gentle, slow lift anyways. So this black bowl with the 20 volume, it's losing its power as it's just sitting there. So I do need to be remixing new bowls every, 10 to 15 minutes. And the way that I've sectioned my hair today is I've sectioned it into 5 areas. I've done the mohawk up along the top. I've done 2 side pieces and then 2 back quadrants as well. And the way that I like to separate my back quadrants is to take a few subsections of said sections and easily clip them up to each other in this almost like ladder fashion, as you can see. And this saves me a ton of time. So if you're a new hairstylist, take a look at how I've clipped my section away. My back quadrant is subsectioned into 3 sections, a top, a middle, and a bottom. And they are all pinned to each other, and that makes it so much easier, especially for long hair or tangly hair, that I'm not having to constantly rebrush and detangle and then weave out any pieces, which honestly just does take up more time. When you're putting in this many foils, every second counts. So if you find little ways that are really time efficient for you, then utilize those, and please share them in the comments actually below, because all of us can learn from each other, and I think that'd be a great opportunity for us all to learn how to make our services faster. And this is one of the ways that actually makes my services faster, because this was all done, I think 4.5 hours, this full service. And this is a full head of Baby Light foils with a toner in between and a cut and a style. So this is a pretty big service, and it was done in good timing because of these little habits that I have that make my timing faster, as well as things like this Dreamweaver here, because it does, again, all of the weaving for me, and I don't have to double check my weaves. It does all the thinking for me, which is, again, why I love it. Thank you, Framework, for sending me these. I am not going to be going through the whole head and showing you how I film, how I put in all of my foils, because it's essentially the same. But the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be doing horizontal, right? Yeah, horizontal sections for pretty much the back. And I'm going to be doing diagonal sections for the sides, and I'm going to be following the hairline of her face, which is what I do for all of my highlight clients, is I follow the angle of their hairline to give the most natural appeal. And then I've got the mohawk, which again is going to be horizontal, just going all the way to the front. I'm not really putting any kind of like money pieces or any kind of separate sectioning today. This is all just tons of blonding as much as I can, as I've reiterated earlier. If you are a new stylist, please remember to like and subscribe to my page, because I got a ton of tutorials, and I feel like they're all quite helpful for new stylists who don't really quite know what to do when these big projects sit in their chair, because things like this aren't really taught in hair school. It's more advanced, and it's not like just a simple weave and apply bleach roots to ends. There's multiple formulas here. There's going to be a toner for the kicked out pieces to handle all that brass. And I figure I may as well just kind of explain that part right now. So we don't want to lift every single piece of hair, because she's going to be far too blonde at the ends. She's going to have 100% blonde if we lift literally 100% of her hair at the ends. And we still want to have some dimension in there, because she does have naturally very dark roots. And if we lift 100% of her hair, she's just going to look like she had a bleach out a long time ago, and then she had foils recently, and then her roots are going to grow in. And that's kind of a weird look. We still want dimension everywhere. So with those brassy ends, they need to be toned, and they're at like a level 7-8. So I'm actually going to tone them at a level 7-8. I'm not going to tone them at an 8-9. I'm not going to tone them at a 6. I want to keep them on level as much as possible, so that they still have that dimension, so that they're still soft looking, and that the ends still look lighter than the top in a balayage like fashion, but we don't darken them all the way back down, because we know in 6 months she's going to come in and want a new look, as she does every time. We were joking about that earlier, how this client loves to change up her vibe and appeal, and I don't want to cover previous blonde with a dark color, because then in 6 months I'm not going to know if that previous blonde is blonded or not, and if that dark color has bleach underneath of it. I'm also going to come back to the K18 topic here. So we did treat her hair with K18 today, and that's because we want to make sure that she's got as much protection on her hair as possible, because we are doing a massive bleaching service. And I'm always honest with you guys when it comes to things like breakage and whatnot. Yeah, we had a tiny bit of breakage. There's going to be a couple of those hairs that were already blonde that did get a little bit overlapped and they broke. There was very, very little breakage in the chair. But honestly, if you're a new stylist, don't be scared of breakage happening. It happens to every stylist, and it happens more than you think. A lot of people just hide the fact that that happens because they're ashamed or embarrassed. And yeah, we don't like it happening. It's not a good thing. Breakage is never ideal. But it is a reality. You've got like 1 billion hairs on your head, and we're trying to foil almost all of them to be super, super blonde. Some of them already are blonde, and there's a couple of them that aren't going to hang on, and that's okay. She's got extra hair. She's fine. So I think that's just something that the hair community needs to be a little bit more honest about, is the fact that even seasoned hairdressers like myself, we do get a little bit of breakage from time to time. And sometimes, if you've seen my other videos, we get more than just a little bit of breakage. So I think that that's just an honest reality that happens in our industry, and we need to be more open about that, because people expect too much perfection from hairstylists, especially because this is chemicals and artistry mixed together, and we're not magicians. We are colorists, and sometimes shit can happen. I don't like saying that, but I might get demonetized. But crap happens, and we don't want to see that happen for our clients. Obviously, But let's not pretend like it doesn't happen. We had a very, very small amount of breakage, but K18 really helped to protect her hair in general against more than what needed to happen today. And her hair felt really healthy and shiny afterwards, so I'm super happy with that. And let's also discuss today the fact that my client wants to have a naturally lighter base, but we're not making that happen with color. What we're going to do is we're going to trick the eye into thinking that her natural hair is lighter by utilizing baby lights. So when you have a thick weave, you can see individually the dark versus the light. When you have a baby light weave, everything kind of mixes together and makes the light look darker and the dark look lighter, overall giving the appearance that her hair is more cohesively kind of one color. And you're going to see that with her end results today, is that her natural looks like it's lighter. It looks like she's naturally level 5, 6, but really she is a level 3, 4. And this is going to give her that milk tea honey boba root with the root shadow that I do. Again, it's a whole lot of trickery, but it isn't magic. We are not actually making her base lighter. We are just putting in a crap ton of baby lights and giving her a root shadow and a tone. So this is what I'm referring to as the kick out. That's these old blonde pieces that aren't light enough to be the beige level 9 blonde that we want. They're more of like a mix of 7 and 8, and they have that old reddy tone to them from that previous red color that we have in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to tone them down to like a level 7.5. So this is a mix of 7.4, 7.55, and 8.19. So let me explain what's in that. A 7.4 is a 7 beige, and in Schwarzkopf, the beige is a cool tone beige. It has a little bit of a purpley base, so I really like the beige for going on that cooler side of neutral. The 7.55 is a gold, and it's a double gold, and I really like using that for fill, and I'm not scared of the gold going orangey because, again, in Schwarzkopf, I find that the gold base is more of a champagne gold, not a yellow gold. You actually might have a hard time with Schwarzkopf toners finding a warm color. And if you want to do like honey blondes, warm blondes, you actually need to mix copper into your formulations to get that, because their gold is a cool gold. It's very weird, but I do love it for filling, and I love it for getting someone to a natural color with a shine underneath, because it has that gold in its like undertone, which provides a really shiny, healthy look to the hair, but it doesn't give a yellow appeal. And then the 8-19 is a level 8 Cendré Violet, which is again 2 ash tones. And so I've mixed a neutral cool with a neutral warm-ish and a extra ashy cool tone. And that's going to kind of bring her right onto the cool side of neutral, because she does have quite a bit of warmth in these pieces here. I don't really need to add warmth for a lot of fill, just the gold will do. And the 819 will fight any of those orange and yellow tones. So if you've have watched any of my other videos, you know that a lot of times I do mix warm and cool tones together in the same bottle, same formulation for pretty much all of my blondes, because I find a multi-dimensional color is much better than a solid one color in the bowl kind of toner. That it doesn't really help a lot when you have just one color. I mix a lot of colors in there because they all have a different job to do. And I find that the beiges and the neutrals and the natural colors, they all tend to balance the hair out. They kind of fill in little gaps and they deepen any light areas. And then the warm tones provide shine and like natural healthy look to the hair. And then the cool tones deal with cooling down the warm tones. So again, it's all like this happy mixture that I put in to all of my formulas. And this does provide a very beautiful result overall. And I do this again for pretty much all of my formulations. So I am just picking out anything between her foils and applying this here. Nothing super interesting. It is important to note that I put on those low light toners before I pulled out any foils that were ready, because we can't pick out those pieces and tone them in the bowl after. They need to be toned while everything else is pulled away and in a foil. So I did that, let it sit for about 20 minutes, and now I'm going to do a majority pull out of my foils and rinse out the toner and the bleach at the same time using lukewarm water. And this is just to prevent her hair from getting any bleeding between. but also because most of her foils are done because they've sat in there for a long time. And yeah, just figured you guys would like to see a little bit of a foil pull because it's super satisfying. And that's all. I just shampooed her hair, rinsed her, and towel dried her, and waited for those last foils to be done. And yes, those last foils do have the low light still sitting between them. Nothing's going to happen with that. Once it's done processing, it just sits there. Now look at this lift and this hair. Her hair is wet, but it still looks light, and that's what I love to see. And this is what Baby Lights looks like, is overall her hair looks like it's naturally lighter. It doesn't look like she has a level 3-4 base in there. It looks like she's naturally a level 6 with some highlights. And this is what I love about Baby Lights. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when I comb through as well. You can see how light we got her hair to be. Yeah, we got a little bit of warmth still left in the ends, but it's not a bad thing. This is something that we're going to utilize with toning. And overall, I'm super, super happy with this lift and the hair, and her hair does feel really healthy. And this is what it looks like when all of it's been rinsed out. We've got all of those top foils done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to soften up that difference between her natural and those highlights. And we're going to be putting in a root smudge and then also a full toner everywhere else. Let's talk root smudges. When you're using Schwarzkopf, it's important not to use anything higher than a 7 volume with the Blonde Me or a 6 volume with the Vibrance developer, because then you're going to bump the base. Have you ever done anybody's hair where you put in a root smudge and suddenly the roots are orange and you got hot roots? That is literally the worst thing. It sucks to fix. Honestly, I'd take almost anything beyond that to fix in my chair. But what we have today is a mixture of the Blonde Me toners and the Vibrance toners. So the majority of my formula today is Blonde Me Biscuit, which is a beige and kind of like a level 8. And I've mixed in just a little splash of the 616, 819, and 74. And that's to add a little bit of depth, a little bit of fill, and a little bit of ash to this root to kind of bring it down from a level 8 down to like a level 7, 7.5, and give it that kind of like boba milk tea brown kind of color, just a tiny bit of each one. So I applied that to the roots, and then for continuity, whatever was left in the bowl, which was a very small amount, I added to my next formula because I wanted to have that blend from root smudge down into the blonde formula. So there was just a little bit of that left, but I added another crap ton of Blonde Me Biscuit, which is again like a level 8, 8.5 beige, and I bumped it up a level by adding in 965 and 94. And what that's going to provide me with is, again, more fill for any of those inconsistent from blonde roots on fresh virgin hair to blonde ends on previously lifted hair, or virgin hair that's through the ends, or hair that has previously red color in the ends as well. It's a whole big mix down there, which is why we have that tiny bit of warmth in through the ends, which is okay. Again, this is color correction, not a color perfection, but we are still getting a really beautiful result. And those neutrals and cools that are going to go in there with the biscuit are just going to provide a whole lot of fill, balance, depth, and coverage, which is exactly what we want. Again, only mixed with a 7 volume because we do not want to bump or lift her base. So I let those sit in for about 20 minutes, and I washed her, blow dried her, and gave her a trim and styled her. And this is just a quick reminder to show you guys what we started with today, and I wanted to show you what it looks like after. Because I mean, come on, like look at that. Like that is so pretty and soft, and her natural looks like it's a level 6. And she's got these really beautiful little baby lights everywhere. And overall, she just looks really soft. This complements her skin tone so beautifully. And she said it was her favorite hair ever. And honestly, I agree. This is so, so pretty on her. This is what it looks like with a little bit of our natural outdoor lighting. And we've got a little bit of a warm, sunny day today. So it's providing a little bit of extra warmth than there really is picking up in the camera. But overall, again, I'm so happy with this result, and so was she. I want to know what you guys think about this. You know, what you would change about this service, or if you've done something similar, or if you have any tips and tricks on how to make your highlight services faster for all those baby stylists out there. Remember to leave a comment, give me a like if you can, and subscribe if you like this video. Thanks guys, I'll be back in the future with some more tutorials. Have a lovely day.